Welcome back to the Red Dice Diaries. It's RPGADay 2017, day 22, and the question for today is, which RPGs are the easiest for you to run? Now, for me, I'm going to pick two games. And these are basic, well, I suppose two systems really. It's the Powered by the Apocalypse system and the Fate system. For anyone who's not aware, Powered by the Apocalypse is usually a fairly simple system where effectively every action is resolved by rolling 2d6 and adding some sort of skill or attribute number to it. In general, if you get 6 or less, you've failed, or the GM tells you what's happening. But normally you gain some XP or some other sort of benefit. If you get a 7 to 9, then you generally get like a partial success, or if there's like a list of options you can select from that particular action, you can only select like one of them. If you get 10 plus, you've succeeded. Great, happy days. And that's the basic engine of the system. Of course, there's more to it, but as long as you understand those basic mechanics, you can't go far wrong with it really. And I've run Tremulous, Dungeon World, Masks, and a few other Powered by the Apocalypse games, all with basic knowledge of the system and a few little tweaks. Obviously, each game that comes out using the system tries to add something to it or put a little spin on it to make it their own, which is great. But as long as you know the basics, you're absolutely fine. And pretty much the same is true of Fate, to be honest. And in Fate, you roll 4 Fate dice. One side has a plus, one side has a negative, one side has a blank. You'll have probably seen some in the intro to the start of this video. You roll 4 of those together for each action. You add up the pluses and the minuses, ignoring the blanks. And then whatever number you end up with, you either add or take that away, depending on what it is, to your approach, if you're playing Fate Accelerated, which will be one of 6 scores, which are things like quickly, sneakily, forcefully, etc., that describe how your characters do something. Or if you're playing Fate Core, it'll be more traditional skills, so like shoot, fight, etc. And you'll either be trying to beat a number that the GM has set, if it's like a static task, or you'll be trying to beat an opposed roll by an NPC. If you're, I don't know, say you're trying to brawl with someone, you're trying to wrestle with someone. Both Fate builds have basically a few simple actions. There's Overcome, which is the one we've just described, where you're trying to beat a certain target number to accomplish a task. There is the Attack action, which pretty much works the same way as an Overcome, but you make your attack roll. Whoever you're attacking makes a defense roll. If you win, you cause them some damage. If they win, they've successfully defended against you. And obviously the defense roll is just the reverse of this if you're being attacked by someone. We then have the Create Advantage action, which is doing all those little cool things that don't really fit into overcoming an obstacle, but can help you in the future. So, for instance, if you're being pursued by guards and you knock a barrel of crude oil over to make the floor slippery, to make it more difficult for them, you can roll to create an advantage. And normally, again, this will be trying to beat the difficulty set by the GM. If you beat that difficulty, then you effectively create an advantage or an aspect, which is just like a little tag that tells you what you've done. So I might say, okay, I've rolled successfully. I've created the aspect slippery floor. Now, normally when you're using an aspect, you have to spend one of your character's fate points in order to invoke it to gain any benefit from it. However, with Create an Advantage, if you get a success or a good enough roll, you can start with 1 or even 2 free invokes put on that advantage. So basically, if I got like a really good roll, I beat the target number by 3 or more, the GM might say to me, okay, so you've created Slippery Floor and you've got 2 free invokes. Now, at any point during the scene where it made sense, I am still in that area, let's say some bad guys are pursuing me or something, I could say, oh, right, okay, well, I'm going to use one of these invokes to either make it more difficult for them to catch up with me, or easier for me to escape, or maybe attack them back in return. And I'd just cross off that free invoke, and I'd get either a +2 to my roll, or I could re-roll it entirely without having to spend any of my fate points. And to be honest, that's the basic mechanics of the system. Rather like Powered by the Apocalypse, There are extra nuts and bolts and bits and pieces that you can stick onto it if you wish, depending on how deeply you want to get into the system. And I've done loads of videos talking about the various different aspects of Fate, because it is like one of my favourite games. But really, once you've mastered those actions, you understand the basics of the dice rolling, you can do an awful lot. And pretty much any game that uses Fate, you'll be fine to run as long as you understand those basics. So there's my answer for day 22. Which RPGs are the easiest for me to run? It's either Powered by the Apocalypse, which has a very simple 2d6 plus modifier system, or Fate, either Core or Accelerated, which has a 4 Fate dice plus modifier system. Both very simple to run, very easy to get into. Both of the systems encourage a collaborative style of play and world building, which is something I've really embraced over the last few years and really enjoy. If you've not tried out Dungeon World, or certainly Masks, which is a great entry system to Powered by the Apocalypse, obviously Apocalypse World, which is where it originally comes from, or you've not tried Fate, Fate Accelerated, or the newer Dresden Files Accelerated, which is absolutely brilliant, I urge you to go out and have a look at them. And I'll put some links in the description down below for anyone who's interested. And if you are interested in Fate, like I say, I've got lots more videos. I'll put a link at the end of this one where you can look at my Matters of Fate series if you feel the desire to. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. You'll consider clicking on like and subscribing to the channel. Until I see you next time, take care. Happy gaming. And if you've enjoyed this video, we hope you'll check out some of the others on Red Dice Diaries. Take care.